Hey there, how's it going? I'm just doing a little job tonight on my old 754. This isn't like a job I'm doing for somebody else. This is one of my own bikes. I've got a little run planned in a couple of weeks' time. I'm going to be doing about 500-600 mile. So I want to get it tip top again. Being that it's been about 6 months since I've been riding it. I bought a Hayabusa over the winter and I've been using that as my daily. So this thing's been very much neglected. Last time I was out on it, done a good 500-600 mile, maybe more. During the course of that, it developed a couple of problems. It split a fuel line, and I jury rigged some stuff on the road which I'd forgotten about until last night. Never dealt with it, never addressed the issue. So the main reason for this video is to delve into the points and condenser ignition timing system. But in the meantime, as a little word to the wise, these things which are bought on the road, these little glass fuel filters, if you ever fit them things, don't leave them in there. You know, they leak for fun. These guys can't just come unscrewed. I've already replaced the one on the left side, and you're much better off with these little 50p throwaway things, and keep a couple in your bag and just replace them, of course. So I'll be swapping that thing out, getting that out of there, because I don't fancy going on fire, basically. The other issue is, by the time I got back here, after a good 3-4 days on the road, it wasn't running as good as when I left. And I think the issue may be the points have gone out of time. Now, I've got a theory on that. Looking at the cam there, it's a bit dry. Maybe last time I put points on this, maybe I didn't grease it up enough. You know, that's by the by. We'll plug the bulb into it. We'll rotate it round, and we'll see how far out everything is. I'm pretty sure it's pretty far out. Could be my own human error. I might have tried to adjust something on the road, got it wrong. Not having a strobe light with me. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure the way it was behaving, that the timing was out. The points are in good condition, so I'm not going to be replacing them. But this video will serve you just the same purpose as if you'd unbolted yours and put them back on. I'll be reusing these. I'm looking at the faces now, and they're barely burnt up. I don't think that I've put more than a couple of thousand miles on these points and condensers. And when I opened the cover, I remembered straight away that they're not Honda condensers. They're off a BSA. That I stuck these things in there just because I had loads of them and they fitted. So I'm confident the parts that are in there are okay. I think it just might be a human error, a manual adjustment that we can just dial out a bit and get closer to what it should be. So I'll rig up the camera. I've got a little old indicator light off a Harley there that we'll use as a test light, and we'll wind it round, and I'll try and show you the timing marks through the little window there as best I can, and it might help you do yours. It might just speed up your job a little bit. I'm all for that. I'm all for helping people, you know. So give us a minute. I'll re-rig the camera in a position where you can see a little bit better, and I'll get on with it. Okay, so it's a bit dark in here, but I've got a little flashlight thing here. I'll try and illuminate that and show you what I'm seeing through the window as best I can. There's some of these videos on these point settings, the the filming isn't too clear because, well, everyone's got a shed like mine's pretty dark. So what I do to start with, I have one wire off this indicator bulb on the engine case, so it's going straight to ground, and the positive side I clip on the points terminal there, where the pointing condenser wire connects to it. Then once that's done, we switch the ignition on, and this set of points is for cylinders 1 and 4. So I'll rotate it round until the marking on the little advance and retard unit at the back shows us numbers 1 and 4. And as it comes round, turning the crank clockwise, we'll see 2 little dashes appear. They're the marks for when the ignition system is at full advance, when the weights on the advance and retard are fully expanded. What we're interested in here is the mark on there, which is identified as F. F is the firing point, which is just before top dead center. Top dead center is also marked. That's marked with a T. So I'll just rotate this round a little way until we see 1 and 4 come into view. Because these are fairly low compression, I've left the spark plugs in, but you can make it easier for yourself by pulling the plugs out. So there's 1 and 4 coming around now, and there's a little, you see that little casting mark there? That's the datum line for where your timing mark should line up. Now you see the 2 little dashes there, that's the full advance marks. So that's not what we're interested in. We want this fella, we want F. Now we should be getting the points to light, or the indicator bulb to light now, as the points start to open and it breaks the contact. Now as it's not, that tells us straight away that the timing is out, and my theory was right. So I'll just keep going, and there it is. Right, the indicator bulb's just lit up, so that's just before the F. So we need to reset the points and gap them so that line is just perfectly in with the little casting mark. No, I'll just go and get some feeler gauges. We'll start again. We'll start with gapping the points. That's your baseline, and then we'll organise the position by undoing these screws. Always start with 1 and 4. Forgetting about the timing marks on the little window for now. All we're interested in here is the gap on the points when the cam is at full lift. So when you turn the engine, you see that they're open at the moment. They'll start to close. So they're closing now. Now I'll go all the way around, and when we see that cam just start to open them again, there we go, they're opening now. We'll wait until they don't open anymore. That's closing now, so I'll just go back a bit. Some people say don't go back, but go back a bit further than you need to, and then just get back to where you need to be. And that is the maximum gap for the peak of the lobe on the points cam in the middle there. Now, I haven't looked in the book. I'm doing it from memory because I've done this several times. I think my setting was 0.35 millimeter. So we've got a 0.3 and a 0.05. Putting it in there, and that's a little bit tight, getting both of them in there. I can just see that I'm opening the points a little tiny bit there. So what I want to do is just get that a little bit closer to what it needs to be. So this screw here, if you slacken that off, just back it off a bit, but not so it's loose and the points will snap shut on you. Got these two little nuggets here on the points plate which allow you to get a screwdriver in there and just manipulate the points a little bit. So if I move that camera just over to one side just so I can get my screwdriver in there, and I'll just back that off a tiny bit. And then with the other screwdriver I can get our feeler gauges back in the points gap and just lever them a tiny bit one way or the other until we've got a nice, just a slightly snug, not tight but just snug fit on the feeler gauges, just so you can feel a bit of resistance there but without pulling it out, and the point, you're seeing the points physically spring shut. I might have that too tight there, so we'll just open it a tad. That's loose now. We'll just sneak up on it. That's what I like to see, just a tiny bit of resistance, almost just so you just feel the friction of it. If you pull them out and the point snaps shut, you're too close, but that goes back in just. So I'll call that set at 0.35 and I'll nip this fella back up and just idiot check it, making sure that the tightening the screw hasn't changed anything, but that's still just right. I'll leave that feeler gauge set like that because then we'll move over to the other side and do the same again. There's 3 and 4 opening now. Sorry, 2 and 3 opening now. And I can tell by just looking at that gap is really tight. So I'll wind that fella back a bit. That's closing now. That's opening. Yeah, the points gap is way tight on 3 and 4. So again, just move that out of the way. So nip that just enough so I can move it. Get our feeler gauge in there. Right. The 0.3 doesn't even go in there, so that's well out of adjustment. Right, so that's a good thing because it means I'm out of family problem. So we'll get this fella and we'll just, using the marks, open him a little ways. a tiny bit tight. Right, that just opened a bit there. So with the 3.5 in, we're now loose. It's a bit tight. Apologies for knocking the camera. Believe it or not, I'm not a filmmaker. Right, that's just enough resistance there. Points are open. I can put it back in and they don't snap shut. So that's our gap. Another little tip for this, if you are doing this for the first time, order yourself a little pack of M4 Allen cap screws, because after 50 years the heads on these aren't a little bit chewed up. So I'll be replacing them next time. Maybe I'll even do a video, I don't know. Next time I do the points maybe. But that's tightened up now, and that gap's okay. I'll call that good for now. I might revisit that later if I've got any questions about how it's running. Once I dial in the timing on the big plate and also the secondary plate, which individually times cylinders 2 and 3. So I'll go back, I'll reset it back up to the firing mark on 1 and 4, zero that in with the light bulb so that the light bulb is just coming on as we're on the F mark for 1 and 4. Lock up these 3 and carry on from there. Then we'll do 2 and 3. Okay, so just off camera then, I rechecked me gaps, because it's always best to idea check this stuff, and that was all good. Now we need to align that F marker on the advance and retard unit with the light bulb just turning on, with the crank in position with that little marker, so the F mark lines up with that fella. As you can see, we are just on the F there, and the back plate is loose, so I can go a little bit either way. Turn the ignition on. We've got the positive on the points wire there, the ground on the engine casing, and as we turn this, you should see the bulb light up there. Move my hand out the way so you can see that. That bulb is just lighting there. So that is our firing mark for cylinders 1 and 4. At which point we can lock up the back plate. And that's our base timing. This side is mounted solid to the back plate. So you set 1 and 4 first. The points for 2 and 3, they're on a sub base plate that has its own adjustment. So if I just find the other Allen key, don't need that on anymore. We can turn the ignition off and just snug these up a little bit. just so it doesn't go out of time on us. One thing that does concern me slightly is that where that light came on, we are right at the end of the adjustment there, which tells me that the heels on the points are slightly worn. And for what I want to do in this video, it will demonstrate how to set this, to do the static timing on this. After hooking that back up, put that fella back on there and turn the ignition on. The bulb is just on, and if I move the crank backwards slightly, again, that's not what you're meant to do. That should go on instantly. There we go. Right, so that's 1 and 4 timed up. Okay, so we can disconnect that, turn the ignition off, and then I'll rotate the crank so that 2 and 3 are in the window, and turn you back on once I've slackened off these screws and got that ready to adjust that one for you. Okay, so now I've rotated the crank and lined up the F mark on the auto advance backplate with the little casting nugget on the crankcase. This time we take our positive wire and hook them onto the points on 2 and 3. The earth stays where it is, that's fine on the crankcase. I've just slackened off these screws a little bit, I hope it's enough, where I can use my little screwdriver and manoeuvre this subplate around to where I can get the bulb to light up. Right, so we'll switch the ignition on. Now the bulb's already on, so that's not necessarily a bad thing, but we want to find the point where it goes out, and it's not. So we might have to just ignore those little pivot points. And we can't find where it goes out. Okay, interesting. That means the points are staying shut, or they're held open. That's not ideal. We may have to go away and relook at that points gap, because if that's open all the time, then it can't work. Okay, so in the interest of honesty, I've got to remind you a little bit. I found a little problem there. I set the points gap to 0.35 millimeters. I could not get the firing position to align on 2 and 3. So I went back and I rechecked my work and I reset the points gap on 1 and 4, well, both of them actually, to 0.4 millimeters. Now we're back on the advance and retard there to the point where we're on the F mark on 1 and 4, and I questioned why there was no adjustment left, because the points gap was too small. So with 0.4 of a millimeter, we're in the middle of this slot, we're nearly in the middle. When we're on the firing point, we're moving this thing backwards and forwards. We're just lighting up just shy of the middle. So that is a better position to give us more adjustment for setting up 2 and 3. So on this engine, rather than going in the middle of the specs, we're on the outside. So we'll lock that down there now, and then I'll carry on with what I was going to do and show you that this might just help somebody else out if they're struggling to get a setting after they've dialed in 1 and 4 and they can't get a setting on 2 and 3. That might just be it. You might just need to go one way or the other on the tolerances with the old feeler gauge there. So where I had it before, where this screw was almost at the end of the slot, that's not right. I did question that at the time, but should have just gone and rechecked my work. I'll do it now. I don't mind showing mistakes because that might help somebody else out if they have the same issue. Right, I'll just reset this back to 2 and 3, and then we'll get on with moving this subplate. Okay, so with our timing now redialed in on 1 and 4, we're now on to 2 and 3. So we got our little clip and have him on the end of the points there, and we've set the points now to 0.4. Turn the ignition on. The crank is in the firing position for 2 and 3, so we can get this fella and now find our sweet spot where the light just comes on. Get this back a little way so I can get the screwdriver in. And that bulb just coming on. As the cam just breaks the contact on the points, and we'll snug that up there. Don't need to go mega tight on them because they're only soft little screws, so just be careful. That there should be static timed, and if everything's right, I should be able to just turn the key and this should run. Okay, that was a cold start with no choke, but you can see from the video there that just visually both the points were moving the same amount. That if you see one wildly different from another, then just start again. It only takes 20 minutes. Just go through your settings again and double check. I'm gonna wind the crank over again after that, and just check the dial gaps on the points. So there's one open there. That's good. And that was a cold start with no choke. So the fact it started so easy, that's a tiny bit tight if anything. Let's just go back on that fella a little while, close them, Reopen them. Yeah, that's all right. That I'll call that okay. The next step, after static time and we know she runs good, is to get one of these things, strobe light. The cheap ones, I think they're about 10 quid. Not many people use them anymore with electronic ignition and such, but you know, with these old engines, it's pretty much a necessity. So we'll unravel the wires. This the spring-loaded sensor wire here measures the EM from the HT lead. Little arrow on there shows you the direction. You can put this on 104, doesn't matter. I'll put it on number 1, making sure it doesn't hang down on your exhaust or anything like that. So like that, yep, that's okay. And the 2 crocodile clips, red to positive, black to negative, on the old battery. And this time the marks we're looking for with the strobe are those 2 little dashes that you see come round in the window as you turn it clockwise, which marks the full advance. So it's when the engine's running quicker, it's firing just before the piston gets up to the top. So we've static timed it. Now we're going to time it live as if the engine's running. So I'll just crack it up again, and you'll see it firing on the F mark, and as the RPM increases, you'll see those 2 lines move into the window and line up with the little marker on the crankcase. It wasn't picking up on it every time, but when it was at the lower RPM, the line was perfectly in sync with the little mark on the crankcase. The odd time it did fire at the higher RPM, the 2 lines were in the middle. So our static time is good enough for this to be ridden. I'm happy with that. It's going to get me where I'm going, and I think I've recorded a little problem. I think possibly the issues I had before was maybe I might have set these on the fly, possibly gapping them with my fingernail or something, and it's gone a bit out of skew, and I've lost adjustment. That's why the timing would have been so far out on 2 and 3. It was a while ago, so I can't remember. I might be wrong. I might have just forgot to grease up the cam, and the heels have wore down a bit, and that's thrown everything out of adjustment. But straight away there, the bike is running 50% better than the last time I had it out. So I'll call that a job for this video, and hopefully it helps one of you guys out if you're in this position, especially with that little issue of the points gap. Me initially setting it too small, so I'll I'll make sure I add that in the video, in the editing, to show you my mistakes, because that'll just save you half an hour. Thanks for watching, and I appreciate everyone that subscribed. You know, I don't do videos very often, but as I think of things that might be useful, I'll keep on adding stuff. Cheers. Thank you very much. See you in a bit.